Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I will be sharing my weekly sourdough bread. This is my favorite bread to make and to eat. I follow the recipe from Farmhouse on Boone. I will link her website down below for those who want it in writing. I use a scale to measure out everything, and I tried to get it as close and precise to the right amount of grams. But if it's a little over or slightly under, it doesn't really matter, at least when I do it. It doesn't show much of a difference. So for this recipe, it's 950 grams of flour. This is all-purpose flour. And then I will do 650 grams of water. I do warm water if possible and filtered. I have used tapped and it works just fine. And between each measurement, I will just tear the scale to clear it so I can see if it's the right number. And then after the water, I will add my sourdough starter, which I fed yesterday in the afternoon time. So it's had the rest of that day, all night and all morning to get bubbly and active. And that will be 2 grams of sourdough starter. Some are runnier and some are thicker. I tend to like my starter on the thicker side. It just feels like it makes really light and fluffy breads and it just stays very active. Once I pour the starter in, I will add the salt, which is 20 grams of salt. And again, like I said, the recipe will be on her website because this is her recipe. I have followed multiple recipes off Pinterest and even Ballerina Farm, and they all have worked great. I just kind of have gotten used to this one, and I kind of tweak it to my own and mix it how I mix it. You know how you get comfortable. So the salt, I will tear it again and add that. And I think it's important to have a big ceramic sourdough bowl. I got this one at the thrift store. If you go enough, you can find a big, nice, sturdy bowl because it sits in it all day long to rise and ferment and build its structure. So I think investing in a good quality bowl is key. And then once those ingredients are mixed, you're just going to mix it either with a wooden spoon or this is just a dough hook I have. It just helps get a good stir before your hands get to work in.
You look up with those angel eyes. I remember what I'm fighting for. Oh, the victory cannot be denied. You're the fire in my bones. Oh, the song upon my soul. And I gotta let the whole world know. Every day when the sun rises, I feel love beating down my door. Every night when the moon is shining, I pray you'll be coming back home.
You are just going to continue to mix until all the flour gets absorbed into the dough. You will get familiar with the consistency once you do it over and over. I make this bread weekly, so kneading the dough, I just can tell by the feel and look of it. Once it is all incorporated, it will be kind of sticky and wet. As you can see, it's sticking to my fingers. It takes a minute to wash it all off. Under warm water, it comes off easily. But that flour will get absorbed and it will become more of a gummier texture, I guess I would say. But it's a very chewy bread, which is one of my favorites to have for sandwiches. I cut them up and make croutons or crostinis or toast. It's my favorite to have toast. I'm also trying to help one of my sons with math. He's asking a question. So washing your hands with warm water afterwards and then placing a towel over the bowl is what is going to make it rise for 30 minutes and just help everything settle down from mixing it and working it together. You can use plastic wrap or the beeswax cover. I use that after my first 30-minute rest. I will use plastic wrap or beeswax or even a plate if it can fit across the top of your bowl and not fall down. So I will show you what it looks like. It's a very wet and shaggy dough. but let that rest for 30 minutes and then come back and we will do our first stretch and fold. And you just grab, it's exactly as it sounds. You just grab a side and you stretch it up and fold it over. And as you can see, it actually rips a couple times with me doing it, but you can see the dough is a lot less shaggy and sticky. But pretty soon after that, it will not be ripping. You will do this every 15 minutes, 3 times, and then you will do it for every 30 minutes, 3 times. So wait 15 minutes, stretch and fold. Another 15 minutes go by, stretch and fold, and you do that. And then once that is done, you'll wait 30 minutes, and the structure just builds up upon itself.
Oh, the victory cannot be denied. You're the fire in my bones. Oh, the song upon my soul. And I gotta let the whole world know.
This is the last stretch and fold I have in this one. So as you can see, the dough is a lot of buildup of structure in it, and it does not rip. You can even see the window pane test through it as it stretches, and it has way more structure to it. This is the last one for the rest of the day, and then you're going to let it bulk ferment. And I just set it on my counter, and it sits there the rest of the day, and it will until it doubles in size. So this is the last final rise until we have the final shape, and then it sits in the fridge. So as you can see, it's just getting the dough nice and smooth, and then we will see it tonight for the final shape. This is the shaping at night. As you can tell, it's dark outside and I just have overhead lighting. The dough has double in size. It sat out. My house is pretty warm. If it's not very warm, you might need to let it sit out overnight. But then you're going to take it out, and this recipe actually makes 2 loaves. That's why I have 2 baskets right there. And if you do not have these sourdough baskets, you can use even just a bowl with a tea towel. I did that for the first 2 months of practicing and making sourdough before I purchased anything for making it. I wanted to get really good at it. So cutting the dough in half and then shaping it, the dough, I will say it is still sticky, but it comes off really easy for me. It's just, so then you're gonna dust the surface lightly, and then you're gonna stretch and pull it, and you can shake it. It kind of helps loosen it, and then you're gonna fold it in thirds. So one side will fold in towards the middle, and then you will fold the other side just right on top of that one. And this is what helps build the final structure and tension in the dough before you shape it into the ball that will sit and get nice in that sourdough flavor in the fridge. So here's the final stretch, and I will fold it into thirds. So the first side, and then this one gets put on top. And then I just roll it up. And then I do the tuck and roll, is what they say. You pull it towards yourself and then scoot it back. And it's you just have to practice to get the hang of it. It took me a while to get it, but it makes a really smooth dough on top. Easy to do all the pretty cuttings that people do, like you can see on all the social platforms, but it builds the last tension. So I do flour inside on the cloth. I just think it just helps it not stick, because sometimes sitting in the fridge it can get moisture build up on it, so it just helps it. Oh, almost lost that one. So yeah, you will do that, and then you're going to do the exact same thing to the other loaf. You can choose any flavor. I have friends who do jalapeno cheddar, everything, bagel seasoning. I've done cinnamon raisin or cranberry and nuts. Like, there's so many different flavors, but our family's favorite is the traditional plain because it is so versatile. And I feel like I use this for sandwiches. The next day, actually, after making this loaf, I toasted them in the oven with some olive oil, garlic, and salt and pepper. And then we made a whipped feta dip. It was an appetizer before dinner, and it was delicious. But the bread is so good. It is the best. And you can use a little bit of whole wheat flour if you want a little bit of that nutty whole wheat flavor. you can use all different kinds of flours. I've used einkorn, kamut, all-purpose, rye. As you can see, there's a bubble on the side I did not want to pop because you want to keep those air bubbles in there as much as possible. It just makes those nice big holes inside the sourdough that just is yummy with butter on top. So you're going to put them in the baskets, and I tie mine with a plastic grocery bag. I just feel like it keeps it nice and sealed being in the fridge, and I just do just like a knot on the outside. They can sit in your fridge for a long time, for a couple days. I've made these in advance and we got sick and I didn't get to making them the next morning. But you can have them within 2 hours of them just sitting in the fridge. I've done that. Sitting in the fridge just helps easier for cutting in the big spring in the pan. So yeah, just refrigerate them for at least 2 hours or overnight is usually what I do. And then in the morning, you turn your oven on to 500 degrees with your cast iron in it for at least a half an hour. And then once that is preheated and ready, then you will take one of your breads out and unwrap it, and you're going to score it. I do put it on parchment paper. It's easy to get in and out of the cast iron. But flipping it over, and you can see it's dusted with flour to make a pretty design. My favorite design is the one I will do here. I feel like it's just simple, easy, and it looks very pretty and presentable when people see the artisan loaves. So it's very tasty. Once you have scored it, you're going to put it in your cast iron pan that has been in the oven. It's nice and hot. Put the lid on and cook it in the oven for 20 minutes in a 500 degree oven. Once that timer goes off, you are going to change the temperature to 450, and then open your oven and take the lid off of the bread and cook it for another 20 minutes. You'll see right here that the bread is somewhat cooked, but it doesn't have that yummy, crusty, golden brown color on top. Once it bakes for another 20 minutes, you want to take it out of the oven, and you want to take it out of the cast iron. You can't leave it in there or it will continue to cook and your bottom will get very dark and crispy. So I just grab it by the parchment paper and set it on a cutting board and let it cool for a couple hours at least. So there it is, my crusty sourdough bread. I hope you try it, and the recipe will be down below.